Have you ever picked up a story that's so complex it feels less like reading and more like you're decrypting a classified file? Well, that's exactly what we're doing today. We're cracking open The Nanite Smuggler, a wild sci-fi tale packed with time travel, tech that's basically God level, and some really tough questions about what it means to be human when you can just be copied. All right, let's start the decryption. So what you're seeing here, this isn't just a picture from a story. We're being told it's a simulation record. It's like we're hacking into the logs to piece together this whole narrative that jumps across different realities and timelines. Our mission, basically, is to follow the breadcrumbs and decode this crazy high-stakes game of smuggling and immortality. Okay, so before we can even get into the heist at the heart of the story, we've got to understand the rules of the game. And this is a universe where history isn't some straight line. No, it's more like a chain that can be broken, twisted, and completely reforged. And this is where it gets really interesting. This is how the story visualizes time. You see, history has been rewritten like multiple times, which creates what they call a reality chain. It all started with the first reality, where these self-aware robots invented time travel. That little event led to a new reality, and then another, and so on. Now, the characters in our story, they think they're living in what they call the final reality. Keyword there being think. So what's a technology that makes all this reality-bending stuff possible? Well, it all comes down to nanites, tiny, microscopic machines. But here's the thing, not all nanites are created equal. The entire story really hinges on two very specific, very advanced types, femtobots, and then something else entirely, called zeptites. And this, right here, this really shows you the insane power scale we're dealing with. Okay, so at the very bottom, that's us, standard human tech. You take a big step up, you've got femtobots. That's what advanced aliens use for things like making clones. But then, way, way up at the top, you've got zeptites. That's the god-tier stuff. We're talking technology that can literally manipulate time and create immortal, indestructible life. The main takeaway here, humanity is way, way out of its league. Okay, so you have god-tier tech on one side and humanity at the very, very bottom of the food chain. When the stakes are that high, you're going to need someone really clever and really daring to try and close that gap. And here she is. This is our smuggler, Tyree Watson. On the surface, she's organized this elaborate family vacation to a simulated planet called Threy. But the vacation is just a cover. The real reason she's there is to pull off a heist that's pretty much impossible, get her hands on those alien femtobots, and smuggle them back to Earth. So how is she going to do it? The plan has a lot of moving parts. First, there's a secret meeting with an alien to even get the tech. Second, she's using a mortal replicoid, that's a clone, as a decoy to throw off anyone who's watching. And third, she has to deal with the biggest obstacle of all, a super powerful being named Manny, who is dead set on making sure Earth stays in its technological little box. But here's the thing. A simple decoy is just the start. When you're trying to outsmart a being who can literally monitor the flow of time, your plan has to get way, way more complex. And this is where things get really tangled. This is just next-level genius. Check this out. 6 months before the vacation even starts, Tyree sets up a secret lab. Not just in a hidden building, but inside a hidden fork of a completely different reality. It's like a pocket dimension. And inside, she makes a femtobot clone of herself, named F, Tyree, to run the whole smuggling operation from the shadows. It is the ultimate shell game, played across dimensions. All right, so your head might be spinning a little right now. I mean, how can someone be in two places at once? And why go through all this trouble to make copies that are mortal if the whole point is to get immortality? It's a great question. And this breaks it all down perfectly. It's actually pretty straightforward. You've got 3 types of beings in this story. First, you have biological originals. That's us, the real deal. Then you have the mortal simulation copies, made from those femtobots. They're programmed to age and die just like a normal person. And finally, you have the grand prize, the immortal zeptite replicoids. These are built from the ground up using that god-tier zeptite tech, making them unaging and basically indestructible. And this is where the plan gets dark, really dark. To create a distraction big enough to fool a time-aware being like Manny, F. Tyree makes a brutal, calculated choice. She intentionally sacrifices a mortal replicoid copy of one of her own family members. I mean, think about that. If a copy thinks and feels, is its murder any less real? It's a chilling moment. But in the chaos, the plan works. F. Tyree manages to use the smuggled tech to create those immortal zeptite versions of her parents. So, what happens next? Absolute chaos. The real biological Watson family returns to Earth with this massive psychological whiplash, thinking one of them died, only to find them alive and well. It's a total mind bender. And at the exact same time, their newly minted immortal replicoid copies get teleported by some unknown third party onto a sentient spaceship rocketing towards the galactic core. The whole board has just been completely reset. So just as the Watson family's personal world is shattered into a million confusing pieces, the story suddenly zooms way out and reveals that the entire reality they live in, the whole thing, is about to collapse.
I mean, seriously, put yourself in their shoes for a second. What would you do if you found out that your entire timeline, everything you've ever known, every memory was about to be just completely erased?
Well, that is exactly what happens. Centuries into the future, a human colony is about to get wiped out by a supernova. They manage to send a warning back in time, but the very act of sending that warning creates a paradox. The timeline just can't handle the contradiction. It breaks. It forces what's called a reality change, erasing their final reality and snapping a brand new one into place. And this is what the world looks like after the reboot. The timeline stabilizes into something new, the Terrinon reality. In this new version of history, humanity can't be isolated anymore. After being stuck in that technological quarantine for so long, they're now forced into an alliance with this ancient, super powerful species called the Fari. The entire course of human destiny is changed forever. So after all of that, the heist, the clones, a complete and total rewrite of history, where does that leave everybody?
It actually leaves humanity on a brand new and much more hopeful path. Now they're guided by those immortal replicoids, the very ones Tahiri risked everything to create, and they're allied with the powerful Fare. Humanity is finally ready to begin its real journey into the galaxy as a real player on the galactic stage.
But here it is. Here's the most mind-bending part of this entire thing, and it's not even in the story itself. You know that massive reality-altering event we just talked about, the central pillar of the entire plot? It wasn't originally supposed to happen. As this quote from the author reveals, it was basically a happy accident that happened during the writing process.
You see, this whole story was written as a collaboration between a human author and two AI models, Claude and Gemini. The human was the architect, figuring out the plot, while the AIs were actually drafting the scenes. And at one point, one of the AIs generated a version of events that completely contradicted what was already written. It created a massive plot hole. But instead of just deleting it and fixing it, the author had a moment of genius and decided to write that contradiction into the story as the universe-altering reality change.
And that just leaves us with this one kind of huge final thought. A story about reality being rewritten was itself rewritten because of the creative process of working with an AI. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does our future look like when our stories, and maybe, just maybe, our realities, are being co-authored by artificial intelligence?